Hey everybody, what is up? It's Devin, LaVore, and
Michelle LaVore
coming at you after 6 days of being off. It has been an awesome time. Wait till you hear. But first, we just want to say welcome to everybody. Welcome to new subscribers. Welcome to everyone who's been with us for a little bit. You know how we do. We just want to come and just share the heart of God and just help it be like a food and an encouragement to your spirit, and that it would grow you in the Lord. And that's kind of what our channel is all about. Mm-hmm. And also, we are a support-based channel. So when we have a PayPal link below, if you want to click it, that kind of helps us to do what we do without getting into long, drawn-out details. And then seeing as how we are facing a new week, for those of you who don't know, we pretty much have to go through this every week. Just ask that you would remember us this week. If you feel like giving to us this week, that would be super awesome, because that will help keep us here this week. And we bless you in the name of Jesus. Take it away, Michelle, as I punch you in the shoulder. Oh, wait, I'm going first, right?
Yeah,
my bad. So. Take it back away, Devin. So let's recap. We went through a week where it was like God was dealing with the spirit, right?
Yeah.
And then that next week, it seemed like God was dealing with the soul. And so we were like, man, we felt like this upcoming week's going to be dealing with the body. So, ooh, man, it could be like our physical life, our earthly life. Things are going to change. Maybe God's going to open up that pathway, that door that's going to lead us to the promise, whatever's going to happen. It's like, oh, but what we went into the week with our hands open, but with expectations. I think I even said on a video, I was like, we're probably going to fail. We're probably going to mess it up. But I think I did okay.
Yeah.
You know, because the bottom line is you got to walk these things out with, man, my face is shiny.
I know.
You gotta walk these things out just in the spirit of humility. Behold the diffusers. But anyway, throughout the last week, God was absolutely speaking about the body. Was he not?
Yeah.
It was amazing. It wasn't about our physical life, but it was about our body and how we should live in our earthly body. It's really good, but a couple bullet points. Because literally, we could take a long time recapping you with all the War and Peace version of what happened. But basically, the Lord spoke to us about the moaning and the groaning of the spirit that's too deep for utterance, as we long for the resurrection of our earthly bodies. Literally, he was talking about it. It was amazing. We actually saw, I woke up and I saw a Joseph Prince thing about this.
Yeah, it was on Wednesday.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, and so I woke up that morning and I was watching that, and it was talking about the groaning and the body and all that stuff. And it was like, wow, that's amazing, because all last week, I just felt like this sense of like overwhelmedness. Every time I came to prayer, I was like, I got so much stuff I want to pray or want to say that's in there. I literally have no words.
Yeah.
I have no words. And for days, right?
Yeah.
Like Monday, Tuesday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I was like, what is going on? I'm just going to flow with it and see what God's doing here. But man, it would be, because we all take turns during our prayer time. And when it come to my turn, I was like, I'm struggling here. I don't really have anything to pray. I might hiccup and burp a few things out. Lord, bless this, that. But it really wasn't getting into the depth of what was going on. And then Wednesday morning comes, and Joseph Prince is preaching about the body and the resurrection of her body and all that stuff. It was just really cool. And we were getting lots of prophetic signs about the body and all that. But
well, I thought it was cool too, because I think the title of that what he was preaching that day was like, when you don't know what to pray.
Yeah, what to pray when you don't know what to pray.
Yeah. And so it was just hitting on how like the spirit within us like groans with utterances too deep for understanding.
Yeah.
And just how like even like a groaning of your spirit, that is truly just a prayer to the Lord. And it's
set
like,
me free like you would not believe.
It's like you don't always need words as you're praying, but just your heart, your spirit, the spirit within you.
Or even praying in the spirit. That's not always the thing, you know. It's just,
yeah. And so it was just kind of like, wow, there's the groaning of the
God's
spirit.
like, ooh, I hear what you're saying there, bro. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that comes from Romans 8:26, by the way. And that's been really cool. Another bullet point is like all week I felt like, and the Lord kind of encapsulated everything for me today. I felt like I've been like really, like God's like had me above things. I don't know how else to say it. Above things.
Above the storm.
Above the storm. Above the struggle. You know how like if you've ever taken a plane and you go way above the clouds, you can look out your window and see the clouds down there, and you're like, wow, this is like amazing. And that's kind of what I've been like in the spirit just all week. Just really close to the Lord. Kind of like that Isaiah 40:31. They will mount up with wings like eagles, close to the Lord and close to God. And if you wait on the Lord, if you're attentive to Him and listening to Him, there's a soaring, there's an intimacy that comes with that like, yeah, there might be storms and things in your life and things going on beneath you, but it's beneath you. You know, it's trying to overcome you, but take courage, John 16:33. I have overcome the world. All that stuff that's trying to overcome you, I've already overcome it. So come up here with me. Be up here with me. And it's just been a really fantastic week for me. You know, a lot of times when we go like a couple days without doing a video, there can be a thing that pops up in the soul like, Lord, are you sure? I mean, I feel like, you know, this is what we're supposed to be doing and we're not doing it. This doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? But that all comes from that soul, from the place of the soul that always has the question. And it's just like, but the Lord was like, no, stay right up here with me. Stay right up here with me. And I'm just like, okay, sounds good. And there's just been some other physical things that have happened regarding the body. But I think the ultimate thing that we got out of this particular week, this past week, was Galatians 2:20. And we cannot go into all the details that led us to that. I mean, it was amazing. But we're going to give you the end result, okay? The end result is Galatians 2:20. And I'm like, let's see Galatians 2:20. What does it say? It says, I have been crucified with Christ, meaning I'm sharing in His crucifixion. And now it is no longer I who live, but Christ lives His life through me. And so this life I now live in the body, it says. This life I now live in the body. And that part jumped out at me like a train getting ready to cross. I was like, whoa, that's it. It's like, that's what he's talking about. And so it's like this life I now live in the body, I live by the faith of the Son of God, you know? So it's not even me living, and it's not even my faith that's doing the living. It's my faith in Him, connected to Him, and then He lives His life through me. You see? And I just felt like the Lord, I just thought it was hilarious. We go through the spirit, soul, and then the body. Okay, what I want you to know about the body is that you need to be led by the Spirit. Yep. That was literally the gist of the whole thing. Was like, you got to be led by the Spirit. It was during this past week, that the Lord was like, hey, you got to be Spirit-led in your parenting. You got to be Spirit-led in everything. And He was identifying areas that I was still kind of working from the soul in, right? And He was like, nope, you can't do that. No area. Any area that you're operating in the soul, you got to bring that you got to bring that under the subjection of the Spirit of God. And let Him do it. Let Him show you. Well, it's confusing. I don't like it. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. Well, of course not, because you're looking at it all through the lenses of the soul. You got to come up into the Spirit and see it from the way God sees it, and then it will make sense. Yeah. Maybe not right away, right? Yeah. But ultimately, that's kind of like the gist of what we got out of it. It was just like, this life that we now live in the body must be lived in intimate connection with the Lord and being led by His Spirit. Because that's literally the gist of everything that Galatians is, the Spirit of God's talking about in Galatians. It's like, you can't do it on your own. You have to be led by the Spirit. It's like what you started. You didn't come to relationship with the Lord by obeying the law. It's like, no, you just put your faith in the Lord, and then He's like, yes, I'll take over your life. Come on, let's go on a walk for eternity. Yes. Let's go back to the garden. Let's get, you know what I mean? And so that's kind of the gist of what we got. It's like spirit, soul, body. Now the thing about the body, be led by the Spirit. Yeah. So that's the gist of our last week. Yeah. I hope. If you have questions, put them in the comments and we will try to address them. Maybe, if the Spirit leads.
Yeah, so it's just been really, again, the Lord is speaking about the spirit, the soul, and the body.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was, this morning we were kind of just going through and really talking to our kids about just everything that you just were saying, only in even more detail.
Oh, yeah.
But
it was like an hour long. My kids were like, what? It's like, wake up, Eutychus.
Yeah.
You're going to fall out the window.
But I was reminded of, how we talked about before with, the spirit, the soul, and the body, and how the Lord was addressing those even with the Israelites. But I was also thinking about how like Passover, Pentecost, and the Feast of Tabernacles also really tie into that. Because it was during the Passover week that Jesus died and had the victory over the spirit, over the spiritual forces, of the enemy. He's like, hey, this is broken. The curse of sin is completely broken.
Yeah.
But then Pentecost came, and that's where the Spirit came to live within us. And we have the power of the Holy Spirit. Well, that power enables us to rise above our souls. And that's really, I felt like it was addressing the whole soul area. It's like, but then there's Tabernacle, the Feast of Tabernacle. That is where it's like physically, and it has not, as far as like Jesus physically coming and dwelling. It's all about making a dwelling, a habitation. That hasn't happened yet.
The physical.
But it's like, when Jesus comes down and he is physically here.
And that's kind of what Joseph Prince was talking about. It's like your spirit and your soul have already been redeemed. You're just waiting, groaning, yearning for the redemption of your body. So you can trade the corruptible for the incorruptible.
Yep. And in that trading of those things, we see the Lord in an even greater way.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, wow, once again, there's the connection, because the Feast of Tabernacles is really all about the return of Christ and him coming back to dwell with his people, to be there. And so I was just like, wow, there's just all these connections. And so really the Lord, as this week has gone on, it really has been speaking about the body of, like you said, where it was very different than what I was thinking.
Yeah. And
again, the Lord was talking to us about that last night. It's like, your thoughts are not my thought. Your ways are not my ways. They're much higher and deeper. We have these very shallow thoughts and ideas, and we think they're great. And God's like, yeah, but my thoughts, they're so much deeper, and they're on such a different level. And so it's like, if we can just trust him and how he's moving, it's like he's doing something that is just far greater than we could ever understand.
Yeah.
And I really think, though, that there's that important piece where God's like, hey, I want you to know how to live in the body. The body is lived by the Spirit.
Yeah.
And that is so vital.
Which I thought was hilarious. I was like,
it's a little...
What? That's like a
circle
twist ending. I did not see that coming. Return to the Spirit, little full circle. That's what it was.
I'm
like, what?
Oh, and we're back.
Like, okay, sounds good.
And so, but at the same time, it's like the Lord's like, there are physical things that I am talking about too. And I think that just in general, like the Lord, he is doing a move where I believe he is highlighting like the Feast of Tabernacles, the spirit of the Feast of Tabernacles, and that's going to be in the lives of God's people. Or he's like, when I say like I'm coming, I really mean it. And so he's like, I'm physically going to start coming in ways that people have not experienced before, with his presence, with his power.
Yeah, like the day of Pentecost.
Yeah, exactly.
No one had ever seen anything like that before. And they were like, what is this?
Yeah.
You guys are drunk. How can all of you had a big old party up there? That's so ungodly. And it's like they were so like, hey man, what's going on in the Spirit?
Yeah. And so it's been really neat to just see how God's just kind of put all of these things together. But one of the other things that we talked about this morning, and I felt like it was just from the Lord, is that when we deal with the area and arena of the soul, it can be very difficult. And as far as just like the enemy coming against us, our own selves always kind of popping up. For me this morning, I was just hit with just this like, that
the question mark.
The question mark, yeah, and of like
the question mark
why
of
this,
the soul.
why that, and so you have to rise above it, and you have to fight against it. And
how is that going to happen? Question mark. When is that going to happen?
Yeah.
Question mark.
Is this going to happen?
When? And then you try to look in your soul for answers, and you're trying to connect things, and it's, but God said this, and so maybe. You just got to go to the Spirit and get the answer from the Lord, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of times that answer is going to look really weird, isn't it? Like, are you sure? Because, we don't have much time.
Yeah.
It's like...
Well, and his answers really, they are different. They're not our ways. They're not our
higher.
thoughts. They're higher. And so it's like that trusting him.
Yes.
But today, personally, like we were talking about just how like the enemy can come against us. And we got into talking about with Peter, and how Peter, the Lord said, Satan has asked to sift you like wheat. And he's like, but I have prayed. And that just really stuck out to me, because I feel like we've been in a time where the Lord has given permission, has allowed the enemy to come and sift his people like wheat. And that's why there's been so much battle. That's why there's been just so much going on in the soul. And this like constant
stirring of things.
Just coming against, and that's why like there's so many of us like, well, we're receiving these words from heaven, but our lives are not reflecting it. What is going on? Like, Lord, are you true? And so that's where that we can get lost in that the soul area of questioning the Lord. Well, did I really hear that from you, Lord? Is this really true? And so, but God, through it all, he's like, I'm using this as a training ground, as a place to grow you, make you stronger. So that, because it says, but I have prayed, and I just loved that, because it was basically Jesus was saying like, but I have prayed. Therefore, when you return, it's like, so
not if.
It's
come on.
When this happens, it's like he's saying like, I'm going to take what the enemy has meant for evil and turn it for your good.
Oh my gosh. Was that not a theme last week?
Yes.
Just to interrupt, because that's what I do. Welcome to the channel. That was a major theme last week.
Yes.
About like, I was like, wow, why is that a theme this week that you're talking about the body, the physical life? Well, because what the enemy has done in your life has affected your physical life. It's like, I'm going to take it, I'm going to flip it and turn it for good. There, I'll stop there. Go.
No, but that's exactly it. And it's like, what the enemy has asked to do against you, Peter, I've actually allowed it, because I know that when you do come back, it's going to make you that much stronger, and you're going to rise above. And I really feel like that's where the Lord he's saying like, hey, yes, the enemy has been coming. It seems to be relentless, but I have allowed this in your life to grow you. And when these things come to pass, when I come in and you've returned to me and your heart's for me and all of those things, it's like you will rise above, and the enemy can't get to you in that area anymore. It's like, I think so much of the time, like, we're surprised, or at least I am surprised by when the Lord takes you through difficulty, or when the enemy keeps coming at you, and it's like, Lord, I thought you were greater than the enemy, so why am I still affected? And it's like, yeah, well, the enemy is out there, but I want you to learn how to put on your shield of faith, and I want you to learn how to arm yourself so that then the enemy can't come against you. If you're learning any sort of sport, especially like, something like UFC, It's
yeah.
well, in order to really learn how to defeat the other person, well, you're going to have somebody throwing punches at you.
Yeah.
You just have to. It's like, that's just a part of the training.
That guy got into my training and he punched me. What's up with that? Why? Why did you let that happen, coach? You are a fighter, aren't you? Yeah, I want to fight, but I don't want to get hit. Well,
yeah, it's like, okay, well, that's just, you got to learn how.
Step 1, bust the bubble.
Yeah. It's like, God's like, I have to teach you. I have to show you. But if you think about it, even, with like in the UFC or anything like that, it's like you're in a training camp, but there is protection while you're there. Like they wear protective gear.
Oh, sure.
But you're also in an environment where you have a coach that's just, hey, all right, let's do this differently. Okay, now you're going to do this. And so you're learning, but it's still in a protective place. And I feel like that's really where what the Lord has done. Yes, he's allowed the enemy to come and sift his people, but he still has done it in a place of protection.
And he's used it for the purpose of our maturity.
Exactly.
It's like, because this is what you're going to be dealing with anyway.
Mm-hmm. And so it's like the enemy, he's coming in thinking, oh yeah, I'm doing good. But little does he know, it's like, yes, but the Lord he is going to come, and there's going to be a moment, which I believe he's just like, okay, you're done. And okay, now my people are going to rise up, and they're going to just stomp all over you.
Yeah.
Because what you thought you were bringing evil to them, it's actually aided in their growth and in their maturity, and they actually are now seeing me for who I really am, and they're not afraid of you anymore.
Come on.
And so they're going to come and just level you, enemy. And so that was I just really, that phrase, it's like, but I have prayed, and just to think, it's like God, when he prayed, he was declaring things, and it's like God has declared things over our life, and it's like that is what's going to come to pass. And so it was just really encouraging to me this morning.
It's like, but I have prayed. Yeah. It's like the enemy asked to sift you like wheat. And I really feel like he was saying that to everybody.
Yeah.
He was addressing Peter, but at the same time, he probably turned and was like, listen, the enemy is asked to sift all of you like wheat. And it's going to happen tonight when I go and all of you are going to scatter, but it's like, okay, it's okay. But it's like, but I have prayed. It's like the devil, the evil, the darkness has asked to do something. That's fine. It'll happen. But I have prayed, meaning what I'm going to say is the final word. And it's like what God says over your life is the final word, and it's really, really awesome. But can I share something else?
Of course.
The Chronicles of Narnia. When there's a scene in the Chronicles of Narnia where Aslan goes to the White Witch and he gets shaved, and it's a kind of a picture of the cross of Jesus, and he dies on the stone table. And when he dies on the stone table cracks. And it's like that all the law that was written, the law that the White Witch used to manipulate, he broke it. And it's just like, no, now I am king. All the law is mine. It's all mine. What I say goes. And I'm the one who wrote it anyway. You know what I mean? But it's like, that's kind of been a theme this week as well. This past week during the body week, where it's just like, God, just like, I am like, there have been things that God has like snapped in half. It's like no longer. Like there's this sense, like for me, a lot of times for whatever reason, the stuff will pop up in my heart, and I'm like afraid of missing it or messing up or hearing from God wrong, or oh my gosh, what if I did this? Or I'll step out to do something and then it doesn't turn out the way I thought. And it's like, oh no, I wasn't hearing from the Lord. Oh no. And there's this terror. And there came this moment where I was just like, you know what? What if I did mess up? Who cares? Whatever. There's a big deal. I'm like so microscopically focused on me and my performance and how I'm doing, as if I mess up and teeter when I should have tottered, all the universe is going to just melt like an ice cream sundae. You know what I mean? That's the idea, right? I'm like, that's not true.
Yeah.
It's like God's grace is bigger than that. And I literally stood up from the desk chair. I was like, whatever. If I messed up, I messed up. Whatever, no big deal. And it was like the Lord showed me right then that scene from Chronicles of Narnia where the stone table cracked.
Yeah.
And God was like, and I just felt it in the spirit too. Like, whoa, you just stepped out of something major. Mm-hmm. And it was almost like my soul was like, oh, wow, like, what do we do? I don't even know what to do with myself right now. This is like weird. Like, this is not how we normally deal with this. Like, what's going on? The programming has changed. You know, there's there's a glitch in the matrix. Something's not right here. But it happened to Joe, our firstborn, as well. Like, there were some things that he stepped into and stepped out of at the same time. Because usually when you're stepping out of something, you're stepping into something else. Mm-hmm. And it just like, again, the Lord showed me, ooh, that's his stone table cracking. Mm-hmm. It's like he's never going back there again. That's never going to have the same effect.
Yeah.
That it has. I mean, because you know, for me, I mean, even this day, I've dealt with fear. But the Lord was like, you're being afraid. Don't do that. And I was like, okay, boom. And it didn't become this big, huge wrestling match with my soul. Yeah. It was just like I heard from the Lord, okay, cool, I'm just going to move. Yeah. And that was it, not being afraid of messing up or something like that. And so I just wanted to share that because I just felt led to share it. Just like, you know, God's bigger. And because it kind of ties into that, but I've prayed, you know. Yeah. It ties into the I'm in charge. Mm-hmm. I'm the king. I'm the authority. I'm the one. You know, you are my kid. You're not my servant. Yeah. You're my son, and I'm addressing you as sons and daughters. And so you don't need to be afraid, and the enemy, he will attack. But it's almost like the enemy will attack, that's fine, but I'm the father. Mm-hmm. Nothing's going to happen to you if I don't want it to. Yeah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so just wanted to throw that out there as well. Yeah. Part of that body week thing, you know?
Yeah. Great. So before we go, because I think we've pretty much shared everything, I did actually want to go ahead and just show the paper that we did this morning, because I think it will just give a good picture of everything and just make it like really clear kind of what we've been talking about. So here we go with that. So here's the paper. We have the spirit, the soul area, and then of course the body down here. And so we were just telling our kids, you know, it's like the Galatians 2:20, you know, we know it's not us who live, but it's us through Christ. And so it's like, you know, when you receive Christ, there's this kind of like line straight to his heart.
That's the umbilical of the spirit. The
umbilical cord here. But a lot of times we can get lost up here in the soul, and that's really where so much of just the war and everything takes place. And we put a big question mark. That's what we started off with, because in that area, it's like there can be a lot of questions. We start questioning like the Lord. We can start questioning, you know, the when, where, why, how, you know, all of that. But it's like ultimately to get out of here, we have to connect with the Lord, and that's where our answers will come from. And so and
the answers are not in here.
Yeah, they're not down there. And they're not, you know, down here either.
Yeah.
But it's like all of these things are affected by, really, it can be affected in the negative by our sinful nature in the flesh, or it can be affected by the Spirit of God. And it's like ultimately that's what we want. It's like when we're living by the Spirit, then even the things in here, it's like we're actually responding out of the Spirit, and so we see things properly. Yeah. And but if we're just in here where all the muck is, you can't see things properly.
Well, and that's what this tree represents. It represents that the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It represents that leaning on your own understanding about anything and everything. And a lot of times we will want to go into our soul and reason it all out and figure it out, and it won't work because there's no answers in here. The answer is in the Spirit. The answer is in the heart of God.
Yeah. So.
And the life that we live in the body must be lived by the Spirit.
Yes.
And all this kind of represents all the reign, the reign of the enemy and the soul and the issues of life that can kind of rain down on us. Now, the interesting thing about this is sometimes when there's soulish issues going on, you have to go up into it to get into the spirit. You want to talk about that this morning? You did that yourself this morning.
Yeah. Well, basically, it's like you can get bogged down here. And so you really do have to fight to get out of it.
Yeah.
And that fighting can simply be just coming to the Lord, and saying, allowing Him. We have this little spot here, but it's like allowing the light to come through, and allowing the Lord to just strengthen you.
Yeah.
I really was having a hard time this morning, but it was just like, okay, Lord, I'm here. I'm having a difficulty, but I just want to hear you.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to allow myself to be influenced by your spirit so that I don't get lost here.
Well, and the thing with the soul is, like, a lot of times this stuff is pulling you downward.
Yes.
But you have to go up. So it's like you have to go against what your soul is trying to pull you down into, which means as you go to the Lord, it can feel worse.
Yeah.
You can, instead of it feeling safer or better, you can actually start feeling worse. Like I don't know. But it's like eventually you get this breakthrough point where it's like, I'm into the spirit now. I'm beyond the soul's stuff. I'm past the mully grubs.
Yeah.
And I'm into the presence of the Lord. I'm listening to Him. That doesn't necessarily mean things aren't still, raining down on you or down here, because this is you down here. But it doesn't mean that that's not happening. It just means you're connected with the Lord, and you're in that place of peace and rest. And it's like, you know what I mean? Things have changed. You've gotten that breakthrough. But in order to get the breakthrough, you've got to be going through these things. Got to go through the soul to get to the spirit realm.
All right.
Which you're already in, technically. You're already
because we're connected to His heart. But so that's what I wanted to show you guys. So I hope that just kind of helps you guys.
I had to put on my hoodie. I'm standing right in front of air conditioner. I'm like, it's freezing. It's freezing.
Just kind of helps you with what we're talking about, and just kind of what the Lord was showing us as far as just like with, even in the body, we got to live by the Spirit and be moved by the Spirit in everything.
Yeah.
And that's all areas of our life.
Yeah.
And so I think that's all that we have for you guys today.
Yeah.
And we just pray that you guys are blessed. And
we'll probably make more than one video this week. I just have a sense.
Yeah. And again, we just so appreciate each and every one of you. And until next time, guys, we will see you later.
Bye, guys. Love ya.
Bye.